Hey guys, let's talk Beyond the Gates for today, May 18th, 2026. So we start this episode of Beyond the Gates at Nicole's house, and everyone is there. Danny, Nicole, Kat, Chelsea, Samantha, Jessica, and Eva, and they're, doing pre-prom prep. And, Eva is there because she is doing Samantha and Jessica's hair for the cotillion. It really bugs me, like, that they have to be in Nicole's house and Nicole has to be uncomfortable and invite Eva into her home. And it seems very unrealistic. And I'm not saying that Nicole should treat Ted's daughter any kind of way. However, Eva was complicit in everything that that her mother did. So the fact that we just sweep it under the carpet and blame it all on Leslie like she wasn't complicit, because at the end of the day, Eva is a grown woman and she knows right from wrong. And when she met Nicole and she met Ted, she started to see the kind of people that they were, and they weren't exactly the kind of people that her mom painted them out to be. And she saw that for her own, and she still continued with Leslie's plot and plan. And she knows that her mother did attempt murder on um did attempt murder on um Laura, and she is fine with covering that up for her mother. And I just can't get with that. Like, you are an accessory to attempted murder and you're okay with that. That will always be a point where I'm stuck with Eva. And she hasn't made amends, because you can't make amends until you. Someone said something on Twitter, and I liked what they said. And they, um, when they said it, I can appreciate the statement. It says you can't redeem a character until they suffer some consequences, in my opinion. Eva was an accomplice. Excuse me. Eva was an accomplice and complicit to what her mother did. She hasn't learned anything. She hasn't, because she still makes excuses for her mother. She hasn't learned anything. She was gifted by the writers almost everything since the reveal. She got the family. She basically is getting the acceptance that she wants. She was gifted everything, but the character hasn't done the work or the soul searching or any of that to be granted this forgiveness everyone thinks that she is owed. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. And yeah, as long as that continues, I'm not going to be able to see it for Eva. I probably will never see it for Eva, even if that does come. But especially until it comes, I'm not going to see it for her. Sorry. Not sorry. But then, she's doing um their hair, so she's there for that. And Kat and her, they trade little slick comments back to back, but I'm not going to hold Kat accountable for making slick comments back when Eva gives just as good as she gets, and Eva was the person in the wrong. So while Kat has legitimate reasons to feel the way she does, and she doesn't have to just get over it because everyone wants her to. while she has legitimate reasons to feel the way she does, Eva does not have legitimate reasons to hate Kat. And she gives Kat as good as she gets. So I'm not going to feel sorry for her. Sorry again. Not sorry. But then June and Anita comes, and Anita, talks about how she went to bed early and she took it easy for most of the day, but she wasn't going to miss her great granddaughter's cotillion. But she's not, feeling her best either, but she's going to do the best that, try and make it as much as she can. So they're getting ready there. Meanwhile, at the Dupree home, the guys are there. It's Ted, Vernon, Andre, Tyrell, Smitty, and Martin. They're all there getting, they're having drinks and taking pictures and everything. And Ted is talking about how he didn't even expect to be invited, but he's glad. But Bill, but Ted, you be acting like you don't want to be bothered with the Duprees too much anyway. I'd be like, Dad, did he not like them all those years he was married to Nicole? Because that's how it gets with Ted. Because Ted, the way he speaks about the Duprees is almost as bad as the way Leslie speaks about them. So I can't even believe that he likes them, because the way he talks about them is like, do you even like them people? But anyway, so they're there. Smitty is on his phone the whole time. And I'm like, so we just gonna ignore the fact that Smitty is face and phone whole time. He's not really involved. He's asking questions that the answers have already been given, like where is Donnell? We know Donnell had a they know Donnell had a final and he's going to be coming later. Why are you asking questions that you should already know the answer to? Because you're not very engaged. You're not here. Meanwhile, Grayson goes to um Ashley and he takes her some files because he wants her to disperse some money to her mother should something happen to him. Meanwhile, Leah is at the uptown talking to Derek, trying to get him in line and trying to tell him, he got a family member who's sick, blah blah blah. And he's like, what that got to do? Because he's volunteering. It's not like he getting money. And Leah is trying to impress upon Derek to not give Grayson a hard time. Meanwhile, he goes back to the clinic, and at first he sees Grayson poking around, but he doesn't see anything. So, Grayson walks off to go complete a task. But then later he catches him stealing plasma, and Grayson tells him that Detective Hawthorne is working with me and I have to make this drop because if I don't, my life depends on it, and Ashley's does too. And that got me thinking, is the death going to be inconsequential and be Derek? Derek doesn't deserve to die because he hasn't done anything to deserve to die. He's not even in all of this. But it's possible that he could be the life that is lost. Meanwhile, Bill is flashing back to Naomi's cotillion, and Naomi, he's talking to Haley, trying to get information on her past, but she is like not trying to give him any information. So she throws out, "Oh, I had an aunt and some cousins, but I had to distance myself." I'm glad that he was finally asking questions, but he needs to press. But that man will make an excuse for everything that Haley does. But yeah, that was Beyond the Gates for today. Y'all think Ted and Nicole gonna end up cotillion night together? I'm just asking. Cause he was looking at her and yeah. But yeah, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Hey guys, let's talk Beyond the Gates for today, May 19th, 2026. So let me start by saying this episode was very good. It was beautiful, actually. Well, I mean, not beautiful, but it was good. So we start this episode. Everybody is at the country club for the cotillion, and Samantha is freaking out because Donnell is not there yet and she can't reach him. And, Samantha and, excuse me, Jessica and Tyrell are trying to comfort her, and they're like, he's reliable, and then, and even if he doesn't show up, you got this, you can go out there by yourself, just giving her a pep talk. And I was actually seeing, um I know that they don't have beef or anything, but it was good to see the friendship and camaraderie between Jessica and Samantha. I like that because it even got to a point where Chessie was, razzing Samantha again, and Jessica came in with no problem and was taking up for Samantha. And then we even see Tyrell step in to take up for his sister. Like, I don't know why Samantha can't take up for herself, but it was nice to see. Um, it was nice to see um, both of them step up for Samantha. Meanwhile, Anita and Vernon, they're taking pride in, being there for their great granddaughter. And then Nicole and Danny are there, and everybody's all happy. And then Chelsea Cat comes, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, this is going to be a disaster." They're so funny to me. And so they find out that the chair of the cotillion was sick and her whole team was sick. They got a bug. And so, the pre women, take it amongst themselves to go ahead and take control of the evening. So Kat and Chelsea did a beautiful job opening up the cotillion and introducing all the girls. Even though Kat, in her kind of like fidgety nervousness for the public speaking, even though Kat being fidgety about public speaking is kind of crazy because Kat doesn't have like a shy bone in her body, but she mixed up the cards, so they had to read the names off randomly. So Donnell still isn't there, and Samantha is still freaking out, but they're calling the names. Jessica gives her another pep talk, and she goes out, and that evil Chessie gonna step on the back of Samantha's dress to try and make her trip, but she stumbles. She doesn't fall, and she stumbles, and then she stumbles right into her date, and it turned out to be very graceful and beautiful. And Donnell was there to escort her, and everything worked out. And so then Jessica comes out, and Jessica is going to rebel because she did not want to do the cotillion. So she's going to rebel in any way that she can. So she comes out and she does a little dance. And her mom and her dad are like, "Oh my God, this girl." And it's funny because, you know what? She's here doing it. Let her rebel. So she does her little dance, and then um, everyone comes out to get presented or whatever. And so then they do their dance, and her parents, that I don't think they liked the dancing. Like, it was all cohesive. Jessica didn't do anything that everybody else wasn't doing, but her dad says something, "You're an embarrassment," or something he says to her later on, and I'm just like, yo, her parents suck. So then, Nathan is around there. He's trying to dance with Samantha, and Samantha's like, not on your life. And then he's around there drinking, and June says something to him and has words with him. He has words with Tyrell, and then Ted got to step in, and he has words with them. And then so he leaves. Nicole gets an emergency call, and she has to leave. And then Jessica and Tyrell, they got emergency calls, and they leave. And so they go out to leave, and her parents are like, where are they? Martin and Smitty looking for Tyrell. Like, and then I think the drunk boy's out there, and I'm like, wait, nothing gonna happen to none of the kids. But if I'm remembering the synopses for this week, I think Tyrell and Jessica will be just fine. My meanwhile, Vanessa, excuse me, Vanessa running around trying to find Donnell, but then he comes through, and then we see, surprise, surprise, Deanna is there to present Platinum Deb, and Vanessa is all emotional because is she gonna talk to me? Girl, no, she ain't talking to you. She don't like you. And then Naomi is checking her phone every 2 seconds, sending hearts to Jacob, and I just hope she better not cry. I told y'all she better not cry because she act like she don't like Jacob half the time, but now that he's on undercover, now she's all emotional and she love him so much. But I digress. So anyway, so meanwhile, Joey calls Randy and tells Randy to get down to the warehouse. Well, at the warehouse, everybody is getting ready for this meet, and stupid Jacob is there asking questions and getting on Ren's nerves. But also on the outside, his dad and Malone are outside waiting for the signal to come in. And they see Randy. When they know that Randy is one of Joey's men, so they pull him in the car and they're like, look, are you here? Joey told me he ain't have nothing to do with this. Are you here for Joey or are you moonlighting? And so he back there flapping his gums and they're watching, telling him to shut up or whatever. Meanwhile, stupid Derek, and I knew this was going to happen, Derek went following after Grayson, and he goes in there and he is trying to figure out what's going on. He sees Jacob and he's like, yeah, I didn't believe Grayson. And then Jacob asked him, what do you know? And he was like, yeah, I saw Grayson still in plasma. Then he told me he was working with you, but I didn't believe him. And then Jacob was like, you need to leave as soon as possible, so I'm going to basically make sure the coast is clear, and then when I give you the signal, you need to go. So he is, over there. Ren is like, is everything all right? And he's like, oh, yeah, everything cool. And blah, blah, blah. So Leah, who was not supposed to be at this meeting, she wormed her way out of her board meeting at the hospital and comes down to the meeting anyway. So then, Ren and Grayson are there, and she's talking to Grayson and giving him instructions. And then she's like, where's the other troublemaker? And he was like, oh, he over there. So she's like, oh, pull your head, hold your head up and pull your hat back. And then she sees that it's Jacob. And she's like, oh my goodness, Jacob Harthorne. I want to deal. They made me do it. I died because she immediately starts singing like a canary, just like a Karen. I'm talking about some I ain't do it, blah blah blah. I want a deal. I don't think no deal coming because Grayson done got all the deals that I think anybody is getting on this. So then Ren is like, oh, you a rat. I'm going to hunt all of y'all down. And then Jacob was like, you under arrest, kick your gun over here, blah, blah, blah. There's another guy in the warehouse, and he's coming for Jacob. And so Derek is trying to be a cowboy. And then he goes and tackles the guy. Some shots fired. The police are about to go in, but we don't really know who was shot. But we do see Jacob, and he's unconscious, laying on the ground. And I think we saw blood coming from him. I gotta watch again because I was at work, so I might have been distracted. But yeah, today's episode was really good. I don't, yeah, I don't want Jacob to die. But let me know what you guys thought of today's episode down in the comments, and we'll be back at it tomorrow because I'm excited to see who is Platinum Deb. Hey guys, let's talk Beyond the Gates for today, May 20th, 2026. So we start this back up at the cotillion, and as we know, yesterday Deanna was opening the envelope to crown the Platinum Deb, and when she opens the envelope, she's like, "This is wrong," and I think we need to call Miss Imogene because she was Platinum Deb during her year. She knows what the card looks like. She has it framed, so she knows that this is wrong. And also, it's like handwritten. And not only is it handwritten, the girl name is spelled wrong. So she knows that, this is wrong. But Anastasia is like, oh, y'all heard it. Chessie is the platinum Deb. She swoops in, grabs up the sash and the tiara, and she's like, oh, whatever, whatever. And they're like, yo, we gotta figure this out. And so they call Miss Imogene, and then also while they're trying to sort all of that out, Nathan is over there drunk and calling out, and then Donnell goes over there and he finds in the coat the original card. So what happened was there was a tie, and then the cohort, they were the tiebreakers. They voted on who would be Platinum Deb, and they voted for Samantha. I could have told you based on how that one girl acted when Anastasia and Chessie tried to get them to take pictures of them yesterday that they would not vote for Chessie. Chessie isn't a nice person. But then Anastasia, she goes, "Oh, then maybe they can share and share." Girl, where'd I do that at? This ain't Spellman. If y'all know, y'all know. Cause yeah. And so she's like, maybe they can share or whatever. And so Chessie's like, yeah, no, Grandma, we're not doing that. And she goes over and she places the sash and the tiara on Samantha, and Samantha is crowned. Meanwhile, also at the cotillion, people still looking for Tyrell and Jessica. And so her parents go talk to Martin, and he was like, yeah, his security detail was ditched or whatever, and somebody saw them leave together, and she was like, and you didn't think to tell us? Her dad was like, you didn't think to tell us? Why didn't you tell them? And like, I know they're saying that he's gonna be in trouble because he ditched his sister's big night and whatever, whatever. But is he really gonna get in trouble? Because I just don't feel like they care that Tyrell is going to have sex, and like I feel like it's a double standard there. I just feel like it is. I'm sorry. But anyway, so everybody is just having a good night at the cotillion. And even Deanna was even being kind to her mother, but her mother has to go mess everything up. Everybody is not going to love Joey. You cannot shove Joey down everyone's throats, Vanessa. Just accept that everybody's not going to love him just because you do, and stop bringing him up. But she does. Because Donnell had the cufflinks on that Joey gave, and he wasn't really trying to get into it with his sister, like where the cufflinks came from. But here comes Vamessa. Yes, Vamessa with the M. Here comes Vamessa, and she just got to say, "Oh yeah, Joey, so and so and so," and Deanna's like, yeah, Joey is playing in y'all face, and y'all don't even realize it. And she's not wrong, because Joey very much has something to do with what was going down in the warehouse, and he looked at you basically in your face and lied. But I digress. Meanwhile, at the warehouse, Jacob was not dead. He got knocked out. He got knocked out. So he has a potential concussion. And it was Derek who got shot. And so they're um who is it? Grayson is trying to staunch the bleeding, and the chief is like, "Oh, I have a heart condition. I need to go to the hospital first." And so the police chief was like, "Okay, take her to the hospital." But she, as soon as she finished being checked out, she belonged to me. And so they all go to the hospital, and Randy calls and relays that Jacob might have been hit or whatever. So Joey calls Vanessa and tells Vanessa to tell Naomi she might want to get to the hospital. So she relays the information to Naomi and she goes down to the hospital. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Ashley is about to get off work when Derek is brought in, and she's crying because she loves Derek, I guess. Because, girl, why are you crying? You treated that man, you played in that man's face. Why are you crying? And it's all your fault that he got shot anyway. I don't care what anybody says, because he wouldn't be wrapped up in all this mess if not for you. But I digress. So, anyway, she's upset. He has to go in for emergency surgery, and then Leah comes and she tries to jump on Leah, and Jacob had to pull her back. And then Grayson is like, I gotta do something, I need to go donate blood. So he goes to donate blood, and they're all sitting there. Pretty soon Naomi arrives, and they're just sitting there waiting for word. And Naomi is trying to get her to do breathing exercises and everything. And then the surgeon comes out and he speaks with Shanice, and it's written all over Shanice's face. She's devastated because her and Derek were friends, and so she has to go relay the information to Ashley that Derek is gone. And it's very emotional because Derek and Jacob are best friends. He's upset, and because he's best friends with Jacob, he's pretty cool with Naomi. Ashley and Derek, used to be their couple friends. So yeah, of course she's upset. They're all crying, upset about what's happening. Meanwhile, Tyrell and Jessica done snuck off to her parents' beach house, and they're there, um, experiencing their first time together, and they were safe. And um, her parents go home to wait for her to arrive, and they kind of talk about what they're going to do when she goes away to UCLA for school. And she's like, we have breaks, and you can come see me, I can come see you. And they're basically trying to make a plan. But we all know that life, when you go to college, it's very rare that you're gonna stay with your high school sweetheart. That's just the truth of the matter. And they may all have, oh, she graduated from Columbia. Yes, Columbia. Oh, a black girl. But yes, Samantha's happy. And yeah, it was a pretty good episode. I'm sad to see Derek go, only because it wasn't any fault of his own. He tried to warn Ashley time and time again about Grayson, and she didn't want to listen. She thought he was just being jealous. And now Derek is gone, to be seen never again. It sucks. But yeah, that was Beyond the Gates for today. Let me know what you thought of today's episode, and we'll be back to discuss more tomorrow. I don't even know what's happening tomorrow, but I guess we have to deal with the fallout of what happened at the warehouse that Joey is lying about. because he says that one of his men just happened to be in the area when we saw that he called and told Randy to be in the area. Hey guys, let's talk Beyond the Gates for today, May 21st, 2026. Okay, so we start this episode there. Naomi and Ashley are at Ashley's apartment, and Naomi just went in and finished showering. I guess she's been there with Ashley all night, and so she comes out and asks Ashley if she wants to shower or take a nap. I mean, get something to eat or whatever. And Ashley is devastated by the loss of Derek. However, yeah, I am unmoved because you treated Derek horribly, not even just since y'all broke up, but you treated him horribly when you were together. The fact that you even got engaged to him when you knew you had feelings was for someone else, and you basically were playing games between him and Andre. It's ridiculous. And now you want to cry because that's what happens when people die. Then you want to cry. And now even, she was like, we could have been together or something, she was saying. And Naomi was like, you're trying to rewrite history because you're hurting. Yeah, let's not rewrite history. You didn't, I'm not going to say you didn't love Derek, but not like you trying to make it be like now. I'm sure you're sad that he's dead, and because you probably didn't want that. But she said something about, I feel like I lost the love of my life. That's how you treat the love of your life? That's crazy. But meanwhile, Grayson is down at the police station with Jacob, and he's giving his statement. And um Jacob reassures him that, his record is going to be sealed and that no one at the hospital should know that he was involved, so he should be able to keep his job. Meanwhile, Ren is being walked through, and he's threatening Jacob, saying, you don't know how high this goes. Even though he's locked up, he's like, yeah, people are still coming for you, and don't get comfortable thinking, oh, because I'm locked up, you safe, because I might not, be locked up for long. And, you know, he's basically saying that he has information because Leah is a small fish. He has information about who the big fish is. And so I guess he's trying to allude to him getting a deal, but I wouldn't believe anything from Ren because he's the type of person who isn't going to squeal. So I really highly doubt that he gives them actual factual information. Meanwhile, Malone goes to the hospital and he's trying to get Leah to talk to him so that he can help her. Um, and he is trying to understand why she would have did this and why she didn't just come to him for help, because he trusted her, and he thought of her as a friend of the department, and then for her to be into something like this, is a lot. Meanwhile, Vanessa is meeting with Donnell, and they start talking about Joey, and he basically parrots some of what his sister was saying about how Joey is playing them. And he's like, some of this would make sense. And, she is determined that she's going to believe everything out of Joey's mouth. Now, Joey is not the impaler because he does have a conversation where he tells Randy to lay low and to tell the impaler to lay low. He is not the impaler, but he does know who the impaler is. And because he said everything is getting too close to his territory. So he is not the impaler, but he is aware of who the impaler is. And that brings me to the conversation he had with Chief Hawthorne, because Chief Hawthorne, he want heads to roll because his son quite literally could have been killed, and then his son's best friend was like, so it hit like too close to home for him. So he is upset about it. So he's like, if I find out that you had something to do with this, nothing, I don't care what kind of relationship or whatever you think we have, isn't going to keep me from putting you under the jail. So, he's like, "Oh, are you threatening me?" And he was like, "No, I'm not threatening you, but I'm letting you know, like, yeah, if I found out you had something to do with it, it's up and it's stuck for you." Meanwhile, Bill is at work with Thomas, and they're talking about what happened with the warehouse and everything, because they're reading it in the paper, which the paper seems to think that the plasma ring is gone out of the city now. Y'all didn't even get the top dog. What makes y'all think it's gone? But I digress. So, he's talking with Tomas and thinking that maybe Leah threatened um Lynette, and that's why she left town. And so Kat comes in and she's eavesdropping at the door, but then she goes in and she's, having conversation with them. And, Bill warns her again, like, to stay out of this because this is dangerous and I don't want you getting hurt. And so her and Tomas, they go and they're talking about it at Uptown. And while they're talking about it at Uptown, Vanessa is there and she's listening and overhearing, and her wheels are turning. But I just find it odd that Ashley is I'm not saying I find it hard that she is mourning Derek, because she would mourn him. It would be um, crazy if she didn't mourn the loss of him, considering how close they were for so long. However, the way she is being you the way you treated him, and all he was trying to do was trying to protect you. But yeah, while Naomi is over there, Ashley and her were talking, and I guess Naomi felt like she couldn't get through to her. So when Ashley went to shower finally, Naomi called her mom, and her mom came over and sat with her. And when her mom got there, Ashley was like, "Well, don't push your family out. Go be with your family." So she goes over to be with her dad under the guise of working on Madison's case. However, her dad sees through her and knows that she basically just wants to be close with, her loved ones, because she can't be close with Jacob at the current moment because he's down at the precinct scene working, and she doesn't know when he'll get off. And so Jacob goes down to the hospital, and he is trying to compel Leah to give him information, and then he'll give her a deal. But she reveals that she can't even, give him information if he wanted, because she don't even know who the impaler is. She is indeed Little Fish. And then in the meantime, Shanice comes in there, and Shanice is livid because there's no excuse for what she did, because it cost her one of her great friends. Because, as like I said, I can buy Shanice being broken up about Derek being killed, because Shanice and Derek had a good friendship, and she was always good to him and vice versa. And she told him the truth when he needed to hear it. They had that kind of relationship. So I can understand why Shanice would be upset about Derek dying. And again, I'm not saying that Ashley doesn't get to be upset, But just don't come trying to rewrite history like y'all was some epic love story when you didn't even respect the love that y'all had because you played in that man's face. But that was Beyond the Gates for today, and we'll be back tomorrow to wrap up the week. See you then. Hey guys, let's talk Beyond the Gates for today, May 22nd, 2026. So we start this episode basically picking up where we left off yesterday, where Kat is talking to Thomas about Lynette and Vanessa is eavesdropping. So then she goes over to the table and she's like, Kat, you can't possibly think Leah had anything to do with doing anything to Lynette or threatening Lynette or anything. She's like, well, she's currently in the midst of a plasma ring. We don't know what she is up to, which is true. Even though we know as the audience that Leah didn't have anything to do with where Lynette is, it's true. We don't know what all Leah could be in on. If you never would have expected that she would be in on the plasma ring. You know what I'm saying? So like you can't put things past people, especially when they do something that you totally is totally unexpected and out of character. You can't put that past people. So anyway, they're sitting down and she's talking and the conversation somehow switches to Deanna and how she's unaccepting of Joey. And Vanessa starts slick bashing her daughter, talking about some, you can't believe that she was raised. You wouldn't believe that she was raised right. It's like she was raised by wolves or something. And like she's like going in on Deanna, and Deanna is standing right behind her. And she hears everything she said. And Kat is like, she trying to signal to Vanessa to shut up, but Vanessa ain't picking it up. And then Kat's like, yeah, I'm out of it. And then she looking like, girl, behind you. And then Vanessa's like, oh, how much of that you hear, sweetheart? And she was like, I heard everything. I heard you bashing me. And then she's like, well, you only want to talk when you want to talk. So now you don't get to talk to me. And she storms out and leaves. Like, girl, let's be okay. All right. I have no comment. I'm just, my name Bennett and I ain't in it, I guess. Meanwhile, Donnell goes to see Joey and he's trying to, fill Joey out to see how much truth Joey is telling them. And, Joey is getting, a bit aggressive. I'm not going to say aggressive, but it is kind of aggressive because he's like, you and your sister gonna get enough of questioning me. And I'm like, and if they don't get enough of questioning you, and he's like, your sister is in your ear, so you trying to turn him against his sister. It's just so weird. It's just so weird. And so then Donnell is talking to him and is like, let me get to know you. And he's telling him a little bit about um um what was I saying? So he's telling Donnell about his life and whatever. And so then Donnell was like, well, I want to go through the last night of my dad's life again. And Joey didn't like that line of questioning because we know why. Meanwhile, you know, Deanna sits down with Kat, and Kat gets Tomas to leave so that she can talk to her, and she tries to reason with her, and she realizes that everybody thinks she's the villain because she don't like Eva, even though she is legitimate in her feelings with her. So you may have to take a different approach because you know doing that is just pushing your loved one further away. And so, meanwhile, Nicole is at the hospital, and Shanice is kind of being snappy, but she not really effing with Ted right now either because of the whole Leslie of it all. But then also, she's grieving right now. She lost what she says today was one of her best friends. Derek was one of her best friends, and she lost him. And so she is, taking the loss of him very hard. And so she is struggling, but because her and Ted aren't in a good place, she's not opening up to him. So he asked Nicole, Ted, I don't think he got nothing between his ears. I'm convinced that Ted has nothing between his ears. But he asked Nicole to talk to her, and then her parents show up because they're coming to meet with Ted because they're all on the hospital board and they need to replace Leah. And so they're trying to get on the same page as to who they want as a replacement. So he asked, "Can you do this as a favor for me?" She don't owe you no favors, Ted. Like, why would she do any favors for you? I digress. But she said, yeah. So she goes over there and she talks to Shanice, and that's when we find out, it's hard for her, because everything is a reminder that her friend is no longer here. And, how much they shared in the time that they did know each other. They did get really close after his first breakup with Ashley. And then with his paralysis and her being his physical therapist, they got really close. And so I can imagine, and it makes sense to me, that she would be taking this kind of hard. But then Nicole leaves because she gets a text from Vanessa because she wants to meet with Nicole after she has the blow up with Deanna. And so she goes to Nicole's house and she's like, I wish that Deanna was more like your kids. And she's like, what do you mean? And she's like, Kat um got okay with you dating two guys. And she said, I had to check Kat. Girl, Nicole, please, just please. Sometimes you can be on a good run with me and then you go and screw it up. Be quiet. So anyway, she's talking to her and she was like, you can't force the acceptance. You gotta let it be. And she's like, I'm not trying to force it, but I just don't want her to see Joey as some, but you can't control how she sees Joey. Right? She's entitled to how she feels about the situation, and that's how she feels. Meanwhile, Ashley is at her apartment and she is basically saying to Grayson, like, it's all your fault that Derek died. And although I want to blame Ashley, I have to agree because he should not have ever said to Derek Ashley would be in trouble. Because he did say that, Derek followed him and Derek is dead. Because without that, he never would have followed him. So, yes, it is in fact Grayson's fault that Derek is dead. And realistically, I don't know how they get past that either. So she's like telling him all of that and going through all of that, and she asks him to leave. Meanwhile, Danny is, trying to be a listening ear for her husband because he feels responsible for Derek dying because maybe if Ashley and Derek were still together, that would have never happened. But Danny is like, yeah, you can't take that on, and we don't know that even if they were still together that this wouldn't have ended up being the fate. So we can't say that, so you can't take that on. And then she tells him, you're not going to feel good until you lay eyes on Ashley. And so she's telling him, go ahead and go see her. So see her because they have trust in their relationship and they're honest with each other. And so he's like, how about we both go? And I like that. Be a husband. Yeah, you know what? I do need to see her, But yeah, let's both go. And so they both go, and Danny is able to embrace her and impart wisdom. And it was a nice little scene, and I liked it. I like me some Danny and Andre, y'all. I'm sorry. But yeah, that was Beyond the Gates for this week. And you guys have a safe Memorial Day weekend, and we'll be back at it next week. Have a good one.